anyone that I know who was in that building was like, that place was lit. It was electric. And I think it's going to be the same way this Sunday, and I think it'll be the same way the remainder of the home games. And hopefully you guys get a playoff home game if you can finish the job and win this division.
For my money, Good Morning Football is the best sports show on TV, and my wife, Peg, agrees. And we are joined by one of the hosts this week, Peter Schrager. Peter, you have been binging on Bengals content of late. Earlier this week, you said, after the win over the Chiefs, I wouldn't want to face the Bengals in January. What was it about that win that maybe took the Bengals to another level?
It wasn't just this win. I think they're on quite a run right now. And Dan, I look back at the Tennessee win, going into that hostile environment, doing that without Jamar and doing it without Joe Mixon, and then quickly turning around and then beating the Chiefs for the third straight time. I mean it. I think this team has got ice in their veins. And I know that sounds like it's a cliche, but does Joe Burrow ever waver? Is this guy just so on? I said on our show, I'm like, he's like a robot watching him. There's emotion, but there's never this up and down that you get to see. You never see him yelling at teammates. You never see him, spiking a ball and celebrating in a way that might rub someone wrong. This guy is just so dialed in. And I feel like this team is so young, and yet it's been there for the most part. All these guys were on this ride last year, and nothing's too big for them. So I would not want to face them in January, whether it be in Cincinnati or it be on the road. That is a team with that quarterback on the other sideline I would not want to see, and I would not want to have to game plan for.
Is Joe what you thought he would be as the number one pick coming out of LSU, or even better at this point?
This is the guy. This is the guy, and he's unbelievable. And it's been everything and that and more. And what I like about Burrow is, it's not just number one pick, great success, Peyton Manning, and we've seen all, Terry Bradshaw, all these guys, whatever it is. With Joe Burrow, he had to overcome a massive setback with the knee injury, and then had to overcome the appendicitis, has to do it with a team that hadn't won a playoff game in how many years? He has had to overcome real hurdles, and yet never makes it about him, makes it about everybody else, and is this incredible leader. We all saw the final season in college. We all saw the college football playoff, but I've seen a lot of great college quarterbacks. I was a huge Colt McCoy fan. I was a huge Tim Tebow fan. I've seen a lot of college quarterbacks win a lot of college games. Joe Burrow is doing something that Colt McCoy, who I love, and Tim Tebow, who I love, have not done at the pro level, and that's take a franchise on his back and not only made them relevant, made them one of the best in the NFL.
Tell me about your relationship with Zach Taylor, because you're close to Sean McVay. You did a podcast with him. I know you attended his wedding over the summer. What do you think of Zach Taylor?
I love Zach Taylor. I've known Zach Taylor since he was a Miami Dolphins head coach. So, of course, he was with the Dolphins back in the Joe Philbin era, and I built a relationship with him then. And then he went back to the college game, obviously at Cincinnati, and stayed on the radar. And I know Sean McVay really, really trusted Zach once he brought him on his staff, and would give me a heads up and be like, I know I'm the young hot thing here, but I've got a bunch of guys on my staff that you should meet and speak with. And I went out of my way. I did the Rams preseason games, that 2018 season, I think. And I went out of my way before those games to get on the field and talk to a Zach Taylor and get to know him, and talk to an Eric Yarber, who was the wide receivers coach, and really get to know the assistant coaches on that Rams team, because I thought what they were building was really cool. And I thought Zach was always so smart and so, I guess humble's the word, but he's not the loudest guy in the room. He's not going to necessarily be the one that says, hey, look at me. He's not going to necessarily have a Campbell soup commercial like McVay's got that's running at all ads at all times. Zach Taylor's the guy wearing the triple XL sweatshirt and kind of hanging in the back, and has the plain, room when they're doing the draft during COVID, while Kingsbury's got the mansion and the sunny locale behind him. Like, that's Zach. Family guy, lifer. Obviously, his brother's a coach. Obviously, he's got a great playing career at Nebraska, but a world of knowledge and a wealth of respect around the league. And I know Bengals fans sometimes come out and they question play calls. And I remember last year, even when they were hot, it was, what's Zach Taylor doing? Ask the players. Don't judge from the outside. Ask the players. Ask the staff. He treats people right. And I think everyone respects him in the building.
You host a podcast, The Season, with Peter Schrager, and this week you had current offensive coordinator Brian Callahan on with you. What were some of your biggest takeaways from visiting with Brian?
Well, Brian's got a lot of the same characteristics that Zach has, and it's not a lot of look at me, and there's not a lot of puff your chest, and his voice is pretty level. He's going to tell you like it is. But what I love about Brian's story is the amount of quarterbacks that he's coached. And I wanted to go through that because he came in and it was Tebow. And then it was Peyton Manning. Couldn't go from one, inexperienced NFL quarterback to a guy who's got all the answers in Peyton. And then Stafford, and then Derek Carr, and then of course now Joe Burrow. And I wanted to know all about what he's learned from each one of those quarterbacks. That was interesting. But what I really liked hearing about was his lifestyle and his choice to go into this, because his father, of course, is Brown's offensive line coach, Bill Callahan. And, you grow up in a coaching family, it can go one of two ways. One, you can resent the profession. You could say, hey, my dad wasn't around that often. We had to move 20 different places, all that stuff. Or you can look at your father as a hero and say, hey, that's something I want to do. And Brian followed in his father's footsteps. What I really like about him is he's gone out of his way to never work with or on his father's staff. And I think that says a lot about him. He's like, I love football, I love coaching, but I never want to go that route. I want to do it on my own. And sure, his father's opened millions of doors, but Brian's kind of charted his own path, and I think that's pretty cool. He's 38 years old. He's really bright. He's really well respected around the league, and I think his demeanor is the right demeanor. It's one that's you've got big personalities in that Cincinnati locker room. You guys be you, do your thing. I'll be here. I'll coach you, and I'll do everything I can to support you.
Peter, you've been hosting Good Morning Football since 2016. You've obviously followed the NFL and been a fan much longer than that. Have your feelings or viewpoint about the Bengals changed over the years?
It has. It has. When I got there, it was in a Marvin Lewis era, which had been very successful, and then kind of trailed off at the end. And then it was the first couple of years of Zach, and then last year comes back and it's like this full swing thing. But it's funny. The Bengals franchise, I feel like, has changed a bit, and that might be the influence of Elizabeth Blackburn. It might be the fact that they're winning games. It might be the Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins effect. Whatever it is, I feel like there's an exuberance. There is a fresh feel. I'm not a branding expert, but that logo, it means something right now in the NFL. It means, ooh, those boys are fun. Those boys are good. That organization is fun. Like the Bengals are on TV on a Thursday night. It used to be like, oh, wow, the NFL buried the Bengals on a Thursday night game and they're playing the Browns, and it's let's get it done early in the season and never see this team again. Now it's, hey, why aren't the Bengals being flexed to Sunday night? Why aren't we getting more Bengals? Why can't Chris Collinsworth, the local guy, do more Bengals games? I think they're worthy of that. And again, credit goes to a lot of different places. Sometimes you can't put your finger on it, but I'm not trying to give the ownership group any more credit than it deserves. But this Bengals team, especially with the new indoor facility and all the things, like it does feel fresh, new, and it feels like the fans are really engaged. And I think that's really cool.
We are visiting with Peter Schrager. Last week, Elizabeth Blackburn wrote a letter to Bengals fans, and you brought it up on Good Morning Football. In your words, it fired you up. Why?
Everyone in that building is really all in, and it starts from the top down, and it starts from Mr. Brown, and it goes all the way through, obviously to Katie and Elizabeth Blackburn, and then you feel it through the building, and it's the coaches, and then the players, and then I'm part of the team if I'm a fan, and I'm being asked to play my part. And I think it was the perfect letter. It wasn't saying anything negative about the Chiefs. It was saying, we need you over this final stretch, because I think Elizabeth knows what a great fan base the Bengals fans are. And also what a great home field advantage that is when that place is rocking. It's really hard to play in cold weather, especially under the lights late on a Sunday. Anyone that I know who was in that building was like, that place was lit. It was electric. And I think it's going to be the same way this Sunday. And I think it'll be the same way the remainder of the home games. And hopefully you guys get a playoff home game if you can finish the job and win this division.
Well, you are absolutely right. The jungle is going to be rocking Sunday at 1 o'clock for the 99th Battle of Ohio. Bengals and Browns. The Bengals trying to end this streak of 5 straight losses to Cleveland. What are some of your keys for Sunday's game?
You guys have to get up early and do what you do, and you have to establish that. This is a new game. This is a different thing, and all the positive momentum is going in for the Bengals. So to me, the biggest key to the game is get out early and don't let that guy Chubb run all over the defense yet again, because that guy Chubb is no joke. And You don't want the Browns to get up early and then have to play comeback football on them.
Peter, I said it and I meant it. My wife and I love Good Morning
It's
Football.
It's a good show, right?
It's a great show.
I know that people watch the show, but I want to tell you something. We are one of the few shows that talks about all 32 NFL teams, and we do love highlighting Ohio football. And by that, I mean not just the Bengals, but also the Browns in that great region. And from Northern Kentucky all the way through, like the Bengals fans have been really good to our show, and we appreciate it. Truly appreciative of the entire Bengals fan base. And of course, you for having me on this program.
Well, it is a great show, and you are a major reason why we love it. Thank you so much for your time, and keep up the great work.
Hooday.